Alex, there's some people who are talking about a UFO invasion. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but what do you hear also about possibility of fake UFO landings, a false flag?
Well, there's all sorts of false flags. We can have economic false flags, which always bring us into a greater crisis, which gives the New World Order more control. We have staged terror events. There's so many different things that happen. But I have, personally studied the UFO phenomenon for decades. I mean, who doesn't look at it? It's so interesting. And we're this tiny planet orbiting the sun, 2/3 of the way out here in the Milky Way galaxy. And so I'm not saying that I don't believe that there isn't other life forms in the universe. I'm not saying that we're alone. But chances are we're in the middle of nowhere, and most of these civilizations and creatures probably don't care too much about us. And so I don't go there. People have trouble enough dealing with Northcom training to put the American people in FEMA camps and gun confiscation going on by the National Guard in Illinois when that's in the mainstream news. So I never really get into the UFOs, though it's an intriguing area, other than getting into the information we have concerning staged UFO events. And as you know, George, and your audience, this is an area where your audience has just amazing expertise, and obviously you have more than I because you've covered this hundreds of times. But we know that there are declassified U.S. government plans that have been in even mainstream news for the last 15 years or so to project with giant hologram projection systems a 300-yard tall Buddha or Jesus or Muhammad. And the Pentagon admits that since the 70s, at least, they have been working on these giant projectors that can project a UFO. They can project a giant pizza in the sky if they wanted to.
True.
And so
even the second coming.
Absolutely. So, we know that's going on. And we know that the New World Order is all about hoaxes, all about control, all about mass panic. And so it's admitted that they have spent billions of dollars in the United States alone. Other governments have done this as well to develop fake UFO landings or fake hologram projections. Then we have Project Bluebeam, parts of it declassified, other parts leaked, a lot of other questionable information on the subject. But then, in the last 12 months or so, we've seen the Pope Benedict, come out and say, aliens are real, Jesus has other flocks, aliens are visiting us, they're our brothers.
Well, he didn't say they were visiting us, but he came close.
Well, you're right about that, but then he had a separate group in the Vatican say that, basically. The point is that the Pope's saying that aliens are real, and then we've had all these other groups and organizations say it, and now we've had a prominent astronaut come out and say that aliens are visiting the Earth, and there's basically a secret program with the aliens, and that the government's keeping it secret. And we've had other astronauts come out in the last few years and say that they saw UFOs on the moon, or they saw UFOs in orbit. And all of this seems to be coming at once, and we see other governments coming out and legitimizing it in giant, football field long or bigger UFOs over suburbs of Dallas, Texas, up in Denton earlier this year and last year. So all of this going on, it just looks contrived to me, and then we know that there's a plan to have a staged invasion. And they're saying bin Laden's going to be, his dead body's going to be found this month. They're saying there's going to be a terror attack this month. They're saying aliens may, invade or have a fake invasion this month. I don't know if any of that's true or if any of that's going to happen. All I know is I have never seen, George, such a legitimizing in the mainstream. I mean, Larry King Live.
Oh, I know, numerous times.
I mean, every time I'm in a restaurant or I turn on the television, it seems like 6-7 times this year. And I hardly ever tune in, so it must be a lot. Larry King Live's talking about it being real and having all these guests, and other television programs, mainline news shows are saying it's real, and the government's saying get ready for something big, and all the disclosure projects and groups that are out there. So really, I just wanted to point out to listeners that we know that the Area 51 craft people are seeing, that's a government program. We know that for more than 2 decades, they already had the B-2 bomber before they rolled that out in 1987. We know that the Flying V's are a government project. And I interviewed Dr. Bob Bowman. You may not have interviewed him, but you may have. He's the former head of the Star Wars program. And he's very mainline. He doesn't get into UFOs or aliens or any of that. But he said that this much has been declassified so he could talk about it on my website, Infowars.com. He said that when he was there in the 70s and 80s, they already had circling the globe robotic drone remote control aircraft that were part of the decapitation program that drop basically DU 100-pound and larger depleted uranium sabot rounds out of orbit, and that the sabot rounds speed up. They're non-nuclear. They're heavy, they're radioactive, but it's not a nuclear detonation, atomic or hydrogen or neutron. They drop them out of orbit, and that it can kill people 1,000 feet underground, much less 200 feet in a bunker, and that in the late 70s, the U.S. government, and he can only talk about this because some of this has been declassified, that they could basically kill every major world leader in less than an hour with these drone space platforms. They don't send people up there. They can stay in orbit for years. They don't have to have any maintenance. If they do have a problem, they can just fly into deeper space and self-destruct. And so, from the former head of Star Wars program, the Strategic Defense Initiative, he told me, and then others have told me, and then parts of it have been declassified, and he went as far as he could, and no more, that there have been drone aircraft in orbit and floating space stations. I mean, it's way more advanced than the public's told. The space shuttle was drawn by Werner von Braun in 1941 for Hitler. And it's been in service since the early 1980s, and they're talking about retiring it in 2010 or 2011. So that's 1940s drawing board technology. That is not as advanced as the true space program gets. And so in so many of these unidentified flying object reports, so many of these programs we see, it turns out to fit in with black op secret projects we know the shadow government has. And imagine the religious, the socioeconomic, the societal effect it would have if they had a flying saucer land in Central Park and a robotic android came off, or these human-animal hybrids that the government admits they've created. I mean, what they admit is just amazing. I mean, basically the sky is the limit for the type of hoax they could commit. And back during the 80s, during the kickoff of the Olympics, they had the fake flying saucers landing, but said that it was just part of the show. But that looked real and panicked some people. Just Orson Welles getting on air and saying that in Bakersfield these tripod flying saucers had landed caused panic nationwide. And so imagine holograms appearing over major cities, over Mecca, over Tehran, over Moscow. Imagine a saucer or two landing and what looks like aliens coming out. This is the ultimate false flag, and that's why I've decided to go ahead and weigh in on this subject. It certainly is on the drawing board. It is feasible. And how intriguing is that the Pentagon admits, imagine what they're not telling us, and of course you're an expert on this, I'm sure you've seen all that, where they admit they've had staged UFO programs that have been at least theorized and prepared. I remember when they were going to have the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie come out, Last Action Hero. They did a big hologram projection in the sky just for the promotion of that. So this is real technology, and I think people should just be aware of that and questioning things if that unfolds.